it's Janet Wakeland here with Remarkably Created, and I am popping on today to share with you some amazing tips for adding value to the Charming Sentiments bundle. So we're going to get right into it because I have those great tips as well as some great samples and ideas for you. So let's switch the camera around, and what we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned, is the Charming Sentiments bundle. It is this bundle right here. You have this stamp set that has 17 greetings, and then you have a coordinating set of dies that have a die for every single greeting, as well as some really fun bonus dies. So you can find them on page 38 here, and then you can also find them again back on page 161. And that's in this current catalog that is the 2022 to 2023 catalog. So the stamps look just like this, and I'm going to start first with the tip for the stamps, and then we'll bring the dies in for you first. So it is a photopolymer stamp set, which means that you are able to look through it and you are able to see the stamps. So my first tip, let's bring in some grid paper, and let's bring in a piece of cardstock and an ink pad. So one of my first tips is that you have the ability, leaving all the stamps in place, to use this as a giant stamp. And it's really cool because it will give you all of the greetings at one time, and then you're going to be able to do some really fun things with them. So hang on a second. And I put these down a little bit more securely. Let me make sure they're in the right spot where they belong. Okay. And it is slightly bigger than our background block, so you're not going to be able to use the background block real well. So we're going to just leave it rubber side up on our grid paper, and I'm going to take an ink pad, and in this case I have Old Olive, and I'm simply going to ink up the stamps and leaving them rubber side up. They're not falling off of this piece of acetate that they come on. Second off, I can see that I've got ink on all of them. I'm going to lay my piece of cardstock over it. I'm going to take this grid paper, fold it over, try to keep my hands a little clean. I think trying to keep ink off your hands is just totally impossible, but every little bit helps, right? So we're just rubbing all of those images in. And now what you have is you have a full sheet of these greetings. And what's nice about having this full sheet is I then have actually a little envelope that just has a bunch of these already done, whether they're embossed in vellum, embossed in gold, the in colors, white on craft. And now I can just grab this sheet out of my little bag, and I can put my die over it, and I can die cut. And what's nice, so that'll bring in our second tip. So the first tip is just create yourself a full set of the dies. You can still do one individually, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But for right now, just having that full sheet and keeping your stamps like this. And you can always take one stamp off at any time. And using the guide underneath, you can always put them back exactly where they go to help you figure out which dies go with them. And that's going to be our next tip. So I'm going to set that there. So for my next tip, what I did was I took a piece of sticky back magnetic, almost like paper, okay? It's got some magnet to it. It has a sticky back. I created a sheet just like this and adhered it to my magnet. And now I can see which die goes with what. So, okay, this is the happy birthday die. I've got my big sheet over here. I'm gonna cut out the wishing you happy birthday from my big sheet. Or I've run out of the ones that I've pre-stamped. I'm gonna grab the stamp and I'm going to stamp it. I know exactly which die to use because I have my little master created for me. So a couple of tips in one. Let me review them for you and put them all up here in front of you so that you can see them. So the first tip is to use keeping all of the stamps on the acetate that they come on, inking them up and using them as a giant stamp. I inked them just rubber side up this way, put the cardstock on top, rub, 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 and now I end up with these sheets that I can, as needed, pull them out, and I simply just keep them in a little cellophane bag so that they're all together at any one time. The second tip is using one of these sheets that I created. I adhered it to a magnetic sheet, and I do not have the specific source of these ones because I've had a stash of them in my craft room forever, but they are really, really thin. I know that you can find them on Amazon, big box craft stores. Okay, so what you're looking for is self-adhesive magnetic sheets. I just put the cardstock on it, and then I was able to put my dies on it, and they're gonna stay in place so that I always know that, okay, when I stamp the Faith Over Fear, I grab this die, right? And then I have a master to put it back to. So those are my 3 tips to help you get the absolute most out of them, guys. And it really has helped me. It's a lot of fun because I found that when I first got them, my first thought was, oh, I'll do a whole sheet like this and then I'll die cut them out and I'll have them in a bag. Well, then I didn't know, do I still have a birthday? Well, that got a little crazy. And it was also time consuming because, you know, I have all these little pieces. I didn't really need them all at the moment. And so by having a full sheet, I can automatically see what's greetings missing. I'll know, oh, that's the one I really wanted to use, Beyond Grateful. I'll go make a new one. Or I still have all of these to die cut. So it's just my system. I'm all about being like as simple and as practical as possible other than buying the extra sheets. The magnetic sheets, I am not somebody who's into a lot of extra expenses for things in my studio. I prefer to buy the stamps, inks, dyes, paper, the good stuff. And I'm not about elaborate filing systems and things like that. So for me, stamping a full sheet, die cutting one out and going, oh, that one's missing, okay? And now I needed that, or, you know, every now and then I'll make an extra. So now let's take a look at some fun samples, because there's also some odd bits in this bundle that it took me a few minutes to figure out. So I want to share with you what they are so that you have them and that you can use them. So let's set these aside. So some of the odd bits, in addition to all of the dies that you just saw, you have this piece here with the lines and it has a little nubby at the top. You have this long rectangular piece. You have this piece here that looks like a starburst, a heart, a double heart. This was the piece that really kind of kicked my butt for a little while, and I may not have used it in the way that it was intended, so if you have a different use for it, please comment below and we'll have a lucky winner who has a cool different use for it than the way I've been using it. You have these little, I call them like sparks, or, you know, they could be like a shooting star or something. You have a star, a double star. This is a bow and the piece that goes behind the bow. This is a flame for the candle, and then you have a row that creates dots. So let me show you some samples where I incorporated these extra bits for you. So the very first one is a slimline happy birthday card. And on this case, I used the 2 pieces of the candle because the way that these work together is this is going to create openings, and this solid piece then gives you a contrasting piece right behind that candle, and you can see the gold that's there. So then the other piece that I used was this die here to create the top of the candle flames, and it doesn't punch out a separate piece. It only puts holes in your paper. So if you're gonna do multiples like I did, okay, you need to make sure you have a little bit of, say the word, Janet, a little bit of spacing between them, okay? And then you can see the little bit of the candle flame there, and then the gold embossed greeting. So that's one set of the extras that we used. This here is another graduation card. It is graduation season. Give you a little sneak peek. Isn't this folder beautiful? It's part of a 2-pack. It's those smaller width folders that are perfect for the mini emboss, but of course work in the big boss. But there you've got the stars. The double star, actually the center comes out. I kept them together just to kind of give it a look of, you know, like a line in it. And that's the shooting star piece. So that's this piece, and then both of the different stars. This here is a square punch from Stylish Sentiments. And we don't have anything this tiny circle except for in the sequins. The sequins dies has some great smaller circles. So there's a graduation card. Then here's one that uses back to one of the greetings. I used the bow and I used the double heart. And then this is just a piece of paper, okay? And just kind of created a package and just for you. And then my favorite card, I absolutely love this card. So I use that long piece as a stem, either for a sparkler, or in this case, our little bear has a wand. And we've got a whole bunch of pink and bling, perfect for a granddaughter, right? The greeting woohoo comes from this bundle, Charming Sentiments, so does the star. And then I use that as a stem right there. So lots and lots of possibilities, guys, just from, of course, just the greetings alone, even if you never used the extra bits and pieces. But once you toss in those extra bits and pieces, you're really going to have a lot of fun. I know that 4th of July is just around the corner. You're going to be able to do a lot of fun patriotic cards with this. Of course, New Year's, you're going to have some fun with the different sparklers and things like that. So take a few moments, get yourself a magnetic piece, stamp it, and if you don't have one that's adhesive, that's fine. You've got tear and tape. You've got other ways of sticking things together. You don't need a self-adhesive piece of magnet. And just stamp that whole thing at once, and now you've got a template for that, okay? As opposed to trying to write in between them or whatever, just stamp them. Plus you get an idea for, you know, how they sit with the dies and things like that. And then use the stamp itself as one giant big stamp. I can pull stamps off at any time, and I can use the words underneath to put them back on, okay? So I can big stamp it, or I can pull them off, use them, and then use that template underneath. And then just creating a whole bunch of masters and having them ready to use at any time I need them or want them in some of the colors. This was the one that we just did together, okay? So if you have any questions at all, just let me know. And just as a reminder, we only have 5 days left of our Join Stampin' Up! For $214 in product for only $99. And this bundle here could easily be one of the products that you select in your kit. That $99 is going to go a long way when you get $214 in product. So any questions at all, guys, go ahead and ask them below, and I will do my best to answer them. And I will work on getting pictures of these samples for you guys. Have an awesome day, guys.